Hi guys, it's Ben Heath from Lead Guru, and in this video, I'm going to show you how to scale a Facebook ad campaign. So let's say you've got a Facebook ad campaign that's delivering good results, it's delivering a profitable cost per result for you, and you want to very naturally increase the budget, you want to scale it. How do you go about doing that? There's many sort of competing theories and best ways of doing it, and we've done tons of testing around this, something that we do all the time. In fact, we spend a lot more time with our clients scaling campaigns than we do creating campaigns in the first place. So it's something I can definitely help you out with. Now, before I get into the steps, I just want to quickly mention that at the end of this video, I'm going to be talking about a free Facebook advertising resource that I think you're going to find very, very interesting. So make sure you stick around to the end for that. Okay, so let's assume I'm going to give it a bit of an example scenario, and then I'm going to talk through some numbers and how I like to approach doing this. So let's assume you're running a campaign. I've got one up here. This is an example campaign we ran previously to try and get opt-ins for our 5-part Facebook ad template. But this would apply to any direct to offer campaign. So let's say you're advertising a product, you're an e-commerce business, you're selling that, or you're advertising a service, you're offering like a free consultation looking to generate leads. What I'm about to describe and demonstrate would apply to those scenarios as well. So it's going to cover the vast majority of Facebook advertisers. So let's assume you started running a Facebook ad campaign, right? And you started with, I've got £10 a day, it could be $10, whatever your currency you operate in is. And let's assume that at that spend, that daily spend, the campaign is nicely profitable to you. And you think, okay, well, I have more capacity or I have more stock. I would like to scale this campaign and increase the number of clients and customers I'm generating by spending more on Facebook. As I said, a lot of Facebook advertisers, this is the sort of the holy grail of Facebook advertising. This is what you really want to do. You want to scale. And because there are such enormous audiences on Facebook and Instagram, if you can find out a setup that works, scaling is, or can be a complete and utter game changer for you and your business. Okay, I've seen that happen so many times where companies all of a sudden doing millions of dollars every month because of scaled, high-performing Facebook ad campaigns. So let's go back to the example. Let's say you're spending £10 and you want to increase that. Now, there's all sorts of stuff where people say don't increase your Facebook ad budget by more than 20% in any one go. And that's nonsense. Because if I'm only spending £10, $10 a day, a 20% increase would just increase that to 12. Now, going from 10 to 12 is barely going to make any difference. If you want to reach, let's say, $500 a day or $1,000 a day, which is perfect. We've got loads of clients' campaigns that are operating higher than that, $5,000 a day. We've got some of them. Getting from $10 up to $1,000 a day, if you're only going in 20% increments, is going to take forever. And if you're only increasing in such small increments, you're going to end up having to increase often, like every day, every other day, something like that. And your campaign is constantly going to end up in the learning phase, and it's not going to have time to settle and to optimize. So there's no set percentage on only increase your budget by X amount. It really depends on what you're spending. I have absolutely no issues in going from £10 or $10 per day to $20 per day in one go. Well, that's a doubling. That's a 100% increase. Or even from £10 a day, if the campaign's performing very, very well, to £30 a day in one go. No problem with that. But I would never take a campaign from $1,000 a day to $2,000 a day in one go, even though that's the same as going from $10 a day to $20 a day. So the percentage by which you can increase your budget in one go is determined by how much you're spending. At lower budgets, you can increase it by a larger amount. At higher budgets, you should increase it by a lower amount in terms of a percentage each time. So let's say I've got £10 a day and my target is to spend as much as I possibly can whilst keeping my cost per conversion really low. Well, the first thing I'm probably going to do is I'm going to double it. So I'm inside here, obviously, where you change the budgets. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up an Excel document. I've just prepared a few numbers on this. And I want to sort of explain how we go about scaling a budget. So you can see on the left-hand side here, right, I've got weeks. And that's because, in general, after a budget increase, I'm going to give the campaign about a week, because it's going to spend a day or two in the learning phase, and then I want enough time to get accurate data at the new budget level. I want to know, can the campaign perform well at this new budget level before I make further decisions? Okay, so that's why I've got weeks in here. We're not increasing a budget on Tuesday and then again on Thursday. That's not a long enough time period. We're going to wait. So let's assume that week one, we've already got a campaign that's performing well. And what I mean by performing well, because I know a lot of you have questions around this, you have to know your numbers, guys. So I'm going to include a link in the video description to another video all about calculating your starting Facebook ad budget. And I show you how to calculate what you can afford to pay in terms of cost per lead or cost per purchase. you have to know what that is. Okay, so if you know that you can pay $50 cost per lead, you have to know that number. Otherwise, you're just running a Facebook ad campaign, you don't know what you can scale to. Likewise with your cost per purchase. You know, let's say you're selling a $40 product, it costs you $20 in cost of goods. So to buy that product from the manufacturer, that gives you $20 to play with. And let's say you're willing to pay half of that in advertising costs so that you make a $10 profit on every sale. So that means your acceptable cost per purchase will be $10. $40 sale, $20 to the manufacturer, $10 to Facebook, $10 leftover profit for you. Numbers like that are very common. So that means you need to generate a purchase in that scenario for $10 or less. Okay, and you can scale your campaign up to the point at which that cost per purchase goes above $10. So let's assume that in this scenario that we've got in front of us right now, that we've already established that the campaign is performing very, very well. And let's assume that in this campaign example, we need, in fact, I'll put it over here. So let's say target cost per result is, let's pick a nice round number. Let's say it's $50, and let me make that currency. Okay, so let's say our target cost per result is $50. Now, when I say target, I'm not talking about, I mean, we all love a cost per lead or a cost per purchase that's like 4 cents, but that's completely unrealistic. Target cost per result is what can I actually afford to pay? If I really run through the numbers, what is still profitable for me to pay? And let's say the upper limit of that is $50. Now let's assume you're running a Facebook ad campaign and you know you're spending $100 per day. In fact, let's make these currency, make it easy. Let's say you're spending $100 a day. And your cost per result at that cost is coming out at $25 a day. So we are well under, with you spending $100 a day on a Facebook ad campaign, we are well under our target cost per result of $50. In fact, we're half of that. Fantastic. We've established that that's the data week 1. Right, what are we going to do week 2? I would be quite comfortable going from $100 a day to $200 a day in one go. Provided you're advertising in a larger market, that's one other caveat I need to quickly mention. If you're advertising in a local market so the target audiences are quite small, then you need to do this slower than what I'm going to demonstrate. I'm assuming you're advertising nationally or to at least a major city, a large area. I'd quite happily go from $100 to $200 a day. Now that might mean that your cost per result goes up from, let's say, $25 to $30. And that should have been currency. Let's pop that in there, to $30. Now that's fine, because our target cost per result is $50. And this is where a lot of people go wrong with scaling, is they go, I increased my budget and my cost per result went up. Okay, well, yes, your cost per result did go up, but that's not necessarily an issue or a reason not to scale, because you're still well under your target cost per result. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in another column here that's called results. So I hope this will make sense. So what we're going to do is we're going to do that divided by that times 7, because I'm going to do this results over a week. And then I don't want that to be a currency. I just want that to be a number. I'll do the same thing there. Okay, so we started at $100 a day. Our cost per result was $25. Therefore, in the first week, we generated 28 leads, or 28 purchases, 28 results. Week 2, we doubled it, and our cost per result went up from $25 to $30. But because we've doubled the budget, we've still significantly increased the number of results we're generating. So roughly 46, 47 there. And we're still well under, with this $30, our target cost per result of $50. So hopefully you're with me. This is not hugely complicated maths. This is just what we've generated. And remember, we're taking this average over a week. So that cost per result is coming out over a week, not over a day or two. That's why you need the longer time frames. Okay, great. So we've gone from 100 to 200. We want to scale further. Let's go to 300. I think jumping all the way to 400 would be a little bit too much. And let's say our cost per result doesn't really change at all. And that means for our $300 a day, we're now generating 70 results a week. Fantastic. We're still nicely under our cost per result. Great. So we think this is pretty good. Let's jump up to $500. We didn't see any change going from 200 to 300. That's an indication that we can scale further. And let's say that takes our cost per result up to $40. Okay. So in that week, we generated 87.5 leads. Yeah, roughly. You can't generate half a lead, obviously, but roughly. Now, yes, our cost per result is significantly higher at $100 a day than it is at $500 a day, but we're generating a lot more results. So instead of 28 results, we're looking at, let's say, 88 results during that week. We're still nicely under our target cost per result. So we think this is fantastic. Let's scale up further to $750 a day. And let's say it goes to $45. Same thing applies. That shouldn't be dollars. I'm just going to copy that down. Don't worry about those. They will disappear as we fill out this data. Okay? Still pretty good here. So we think, right, let's go to $1,000 a day. And remember, this cost per result is increasing each time we're increasing the budget here. But provided it's under my target cost per result, that's absolutely fine. Don't worry about that. That's not a problem. We go to $1,000 a day, and boom, takes us up to $55. That's above our acceptable cost per result. Something needs to change. And it's absolutely fine at this point to decrease budget. Scaling does not need to be just straight up like that. All the time, we will scale a client's budget, scale it again, great results, just like we've got here. You know, we've had 5 weeks of scaling whilst our cost per result is still really good. And we're generating lots of volume for this client. But week 6, looks like we overscaled, okay? The cost per result went up too high. We hardly generated any more leads for the increase in budget based on the previous week. So let's bring it back down. So in this case, we might bring it back down to something like $850. And let's say that brings our cost per lead down to 48. And that's an acceptable cost per result of $48. It's under our 50 target, and we're still generating more leads. Great. So there's a few things I would say here. We've gone back down from our top level of $1,000 a day, which is absolutely fine. Don't worry about doing that. And we've settled, let's say, at $850 being what we can spend per day right now. But don't think that's the most you can ever spend. You can absolutely get back up over the $1,000 a day, but you might need to spend some time at this level to allow A, Facebook to adjust and optimize, and then B, for you to be able to make the adjustments and all the things I talk about in my videos, like creating new ad creative that might produce better results, testing new targeting options that might produce better results. So when something like this happens, what we might then see is we have to stay at $850 for a few weeks. And what we're going to do is we're going to bring this cost per lead down, or cost per result, I should say. So let's say it was 48, comes down to 45, comes down to 42 in week 9. That sort of thing happens all the time. This is incremental improvements that we're making to this campaign through our adjustment and optimization process, which is absolutely fantastic. Now, because we've reduced that cost per result down nicely, we might now have another go at scaling. So perhaps we go back up to 1,000. And perhaps this time, instead of it going all the way up to 55, perhaps we see it go up to $48. Fantastic. Because of the improvements we made week 7 through week 9, and because of the optimization process that Facebook goes through, we were able to reduce the cost per result from $48 down to $42 at that same budget, which then allowed us to scale up to 1,000. Okay, so perhaps then, if I was to continue this, let me drag this out a little bit. If I was to continue this, perhaps we probably need to stay at 1,000. Remember, 48 is really close to our upper cost per result acceptable limit. So maybe we need to keep this at 1,000 for a few weeks, and we need to go through the same process. So perhaps we go down to, $43, and let's say not a huge amount better than that, 42, 41. Okay, at the same budget level, right, now we could try increasing the budget again. And perhaps it shoots up to $52, and it's too much. So hopefully you understand the sort of, at which point, just quickly, we might go down to 1,100 and see it come down to $46. This data here is something that I'm making up, but it's something I just see all the time with our clients, and I know that this is how it works so often. So a few points I want to mention here. Scaling is not linear. It happens all the time where you overscale a bit. Okay, no problem. We're a little bit too expensive. Let's reduce the budget back down. You can see that I'm not increasing the budget by huge increments at any one time. You can't take a campaign, in my experience, from $100 to, let's say, $10,000 a day in a couple of months. It's just almost impossible to do. But we got this campaign all the way up to what? Over $1,000 in... So we've 10x'd the budget in what, 2.5 months time? From week 1 to week 10. So yeah, just over 2 months time, we've 10x'd the budget. You can absolutely do that. And it's not linear. So if you do overscale, it's absolutely fine to bring it back down. Don't worry about this. This is flexible. The key takeaways I want you to get from here is look at how we are changing budget and increasing it. Look at how you may need to pause at certain budget levels, make adjustments that decrease your cost per result to then be able to scale again. Look at how we're only increasing budgets once per week. That's why we've got weeks on this left-hand side, not days. And also, the other thing I want to make very, very clear is that as you scale a Facebook ad campaign, an increase in cost per result is almost inevitable. You might be thinking, why? Why if I spend more on my campaign, does my cost per result have to go up? And it's very simply, you just have to think of the way a Facebook or Instagram ad campaign works, right? So if I'm only spending, let's say, $10 a day, and I might reach, I don't know, let's say I reach 1,000 people for that price. So I'm reaching 1,000 people every day. Well, within your audience that's, let's say, 1 million people, there are going to be a very small percentage of that audience that absolutely love whatever you have to offer. These can be cold audiences, they don't have to be warm audiences, but they absolutely love what you have to offer. So perhaps they visited your website yesterday. Perhaps they just bought the accessory to the product that you sell. And Facebook knows all that data, by the way, because they track what people do online all over the place. Perhaps they really respond to ads just like yours and buy stuff all the time. You know, there are certain people where if you stick an ad for a really nice pair of shoes in front of them, there's like such a high percentage chance that they're going to buy. When you first start advertising and spending on a small budget, Facebook's going to know who those people are and they're going to put your ads in front of those, what I call hyper responsive prospects. So people who are going to see your ad and act on it. The more and more, there's only a limited number of those hyper responsives. The more you spend, the more you have to get away from that absolute core group of people. So if you're only advertising to 1% of your audience every day, Facebook's going to choose the best 1%. If you increase that to, you double your budget from $10 a day to $20 a day, well, now you might be advertising to 2% of your audience. That next 1% is going to convert probably slightly worse than the absolute best 1%. And as you scale budgets more and more and more, that is something that you have to take into account. Okay, so don't worry or think it's a bad thing that your cost per result is increasing just because you're scaling. The key is to get it to not increase too much and to optimize other areas of your campaign at certain budget levels to reduce the cost per result, which will then allow you to scale further. So as I said, if we go back to here, week 7 through week 9, we were stuck about the 850. But we were reducing the cost per result every week, and that's with all the things that I teach. That's with improving your targeting options. That's with adding in new ad creative. That's with tweaking your strategy, testing different discounts and offers, and all that sort of thing. Okay, to help improve your results, the regular Facebook advertising stuff. A couple of other things I want to mention about scaling. In general, if you come up against a ceiling of scaling, one of the best solutions to counteract that is to increase your audience size. So in general, the larger the budget, the larger you want your audience to be. Doesn't mean you have to change your audience every week, and it's not something I'd recommend, but there may come a point at which, okay, we now need to switch from a 1% lookalike to a 2% or a 3%, something along those lines. So keep that in mind. There is a relationship between the amount you spend and the amount of people you want in your target audience, which is probably unsurprising. The other thing I'll say is that the more you spend on Facebook ads, the more frequently you need to refresh ad creative. Because the more you spend, the more people in your target audience, the more often they're going to see your ads. So let's say at $100 a day, someone in your target audience sees your ad on average once a week. Or at $1,000 a day, that might be once a day. The difference between someone in your audience seeing your ad once a week and once a day means that they're going to get bored with your ad if they're seeing it every single day much, much faster. So you need to refresh ad creative faster. At lower budget levels, I often say to people, look, if you can refresh ad creative once every couple of months, you're probably absolutely fine. And by refresh ad creative, I don't necessarily mean throw out your old ads. I just mean create some new ones to test alongside your existing ones to keep things fresh. You could do that maybe once a month, once every 2 months. At higher budget levels, particularly when you get into the thousands of dollars a day and above, that needs to be more like once every 2 weeks, and sometimes once every week you need to be adding in new ads to keep your results high. Otherwise, ad fatigue is going to start to set in and you will start to see results drop off. In fact, what I'll do is I'll include a link in the video description to a video all about how to combat ad fatigue, because if you do start to see that happen, let's say you get up to, if we go back to this example, let's say we got up to the $1,000 a day And instead of this cost per result going down with optimization, it was actually going up because of ad fatigue. You need to start combating ad fatigue. So watch that video, check that out if you see something like that, because there are a number of steps you can take to combat ad fatigue. But in terms of what we do as a Facebook ads agency for the majority of our clients, obviously we get them set up in the first place. But because we know what we're doing with the setup, we spend a lot more time on this, on scaling campaigns, and then on combating ad fatigue and making adjustments to improve them at scaled budgets. And don't always think that you want your cost per result to be as low as possible. I will accept, as a business owner myself, but also for my clients' campaigns, a higher cost per result if we can deliver way more volume. Because the objective of Facebook advertising campaign isn't to spend as little as possible or to generate as low a cost per result as possible. It's to make the campaign as profitable as possible. And obviously, most businesses will make a lot more profit at much higher volume levels. Okay, maybe not in percentage terms, but in absolute figures, they will. Right, hopefully that's useful. Hopefully that's not too massy. You can go ahead and implement some of this stuff and scale your campaigns. I'd love to know how it goes if you do. Now, at the beginning of this video, I talked about a free Facebook advertising resource I just quickly want to talk about right now. And that's a webinar called 3 Killer Facebook Ad Strategies to Double or More Your Revenue. And in this webinar, which is completely free, I basically have 3 different sales funnels. So I talked about this being a scaling method for direct to offer. There are other sales funnels that I recommend for specific types of businesses. So I'd strongly recommend you check that out, because you'd see the sales funnels, the strategies that we use, how they work. They're all very much tried and tested. We've generated more than $1 million for our clients with each. There'll be a link in the video description below. So just click on that, go through the webinar, take a look. You can watch it. It's about 60, 70 minutes long. I'd strongly recommend you do. I think it's well worth a watch if you're looking for better results with Facebook and Instagram advertising. If you enjoyed this video, please comment below to let me know. If this sort of stuff's useful, I'd love to hear it. Helps me direct my video making efforts. So let me know. Comment below if you've got any questions, of course. Happy to answer questions. Please share the video, tell a friend. I always appreciate when people get the word out and help me spread my my free content around. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm releasing Facebook advertising and SEO related content all the time at the moment. So subscribe, click the little bell notification when you do, so you receive a notification when I publish new videos. And I'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.